Hi, I'm Tim and welcome to WatchYouWant.com. Thanks for logging on. Today we're looking at a golden oldie from back in the day from the International Watch Company of Schaffhausen, Switzerland. During the 1990s, some of the best threads of IWC professional utility watch history, the old aqua timers, a lot of the old pilots references, the technical watch heritage of the engineers, coalesced around the lineup known as GST, kind of a catch-all for the modern IWC technical sports watch. The GST line incorporated a number of interesting complications in a utility package. There were chronographs, there were calendars, there were even alarms, but perhaps this example right here, the 371503 titanium Rattrapante split seconds chronograph, may have been the most technically intriguing, vying only with the GST Deep 1 depth gauge watch for that ultimate title in the GST pantheon. Now this model had a short production run around the Y2K era, so you don't see too many of them. And this unique combination of satin anodized titanium with the 43mm case and the split seconds complication with the biplanar dial is unique even in the GST continuity. So let's take a little look at this watch, break it down, talk about where it stands in IWC heritage, history, and modern collectability. And there is a hell of a technical hook here. This watch has a lot of tech geek appeal. So let's dive right in. Now in a 43mm case, I'm going to show you this watch on my wrist. It wears big, it wears modern. It is kind of the best of the old IWC design ethic with the modern IWC wrist presence. It doesn't look bling, it's not flash, it's not designed with, quote, emerging markets in mind. This watch doesn't pander to anyone. It's a case that's big enough and burly enough to hold that gorgeous 7750 based automatic winding split seconds movement. Now in the modern era, IWC actually invented the split second chronograph. Prior to the invention of the IWC split second module in the early 1990s by IWC watchmaker Richard Habring, the only way to get a split second or Rattrapante complication was to essentially commission a bespoke timepiece. So even in the 80s, we're talking upper 5 figures, maybe even the 6-figure range, considering the few manufacturers that could even do it, much less the price of execution. IWC changed all that, and in the modern era, the split second is their baby. So not only do you have a case, a shape, and a purity of purpose that's distinctive of the International Watch Company, but you have a movement with a complication that is their very own. And that is a modification of the 7750 that they invented in-house. There's a lot of in-house technical savoir-faire going on here. And the basic 7750 is a tremendous movement, tough as nails, an absolute workhorse. Since its debut in 1973, the brainchild of great watchmaker Edmond Capt has powered everything from Panerai IWC to high complications, and here it's perfectly staged as the workhorse motor of a no-nonsense tool utility watch. Now the split-second chronograph is a great one because it gives you the ability to time two separate events separately. You can see I've now split the timing into two separate seconds hands. This is great if you're timing any kind of competition from a foot race to the Reno Air National Air Races. It's a great complication to have, and it's a fantastic party piece, even if you just want to watch it circulate and watch the seconds hands fly back to each other. You can also use it as a standard single-second register chronograph, and with a 3-register design, you've got your hours, minutes, and seconds, including constant seconds at 3 o'clock, but you've also got that little extra bit of information between the chronograph, arguably the king of everyday complications, and the day date, arguably the most useful of complications. This watch has you covered. And again, on my 6 1/3 inch wrist, that's 16 centimeters for our metric friends, you can see it's quite comfortable. Titanium makes the difference here. 43mm, it looks it, but it doesn't feel like it. Very light, very wieldy. I like to say it's that feeling of a tanto when you expect the heft of a katana. Fantastic piece on the wrist, looks the business, and that anodized titanium that's just a couple of shades darker than standard brushed or satinated tie really makes the difference here and gives you great contrast relative to those light-colored indexes, the yellow shocks of color on the dial, and of course the white, heavily loomed hands. This is high legibility, tool watch visibility here, and IWC gives you a little bit of subtlety because you can see that hour track, just inboard of it there's a step. So the dial, though big, is actually layered, and if you go to the edge of the hour indexes, you look right where that minute track starts, there's another step. So you step down from the bezel, down to the minute track, down to the hour track, down one more time onto the inner dial, and this watch really has a great deal of articulation and attention to detail. Note that little white frame around the day-date window. If you could see, maybe on 1080p, if you set your iPhone as high as it'll, your YouTube of my iPhone video as high as it'll go to HD, you could see that there's actually a little bit of addition to the windows themselves, just so you don't have that sheer break between the upper dial and the date and the day discs. A lot of attention to detail and subtlety, despite the fact that this is a no-holds-barred utility watch. And IWC's bracelet that debuted with the GST and continued into the late 2000s with the Aquatimer line is a gem. Light on the wrist, very supple. It's also fully modular, so each one of these links is individually sizable. There's a little push piece right in the center, so you can remove any one of these basically using a pencil or a pen in your own home. Fully sizable means you have a lot of adjustability. Every single link you see here is a candidate for removal to get just the right size. And IWC's beautiful, lightweight, minimalist clasp, as low profile as it is, and it's almost Rolex crown clasp low in profile, it still has a trigger release, which I like because that gives you certainty and security. You hear it click when it shuts, you press it to open it, not friction fit, very high quality. Despite the lightness, despite the low profile, despite the minimalist titanium character of the metal, it feels very solid, very reassuring. This is an awesome watch for all seasons. It looks good with a suit, looks good with a bathing suit, and it's available with full boxes, papers, accessories, all documents of provenance from watchyouwant.com. This watch hasn't aged a day in the last 12 years. Since production of these ended, we've seen very few of them, so exclusivity is guaranteed. If you like the old school IWC professional watch ethic, if you like complications, if you like a watch that you can wear all the time, this IWC GST Rattrapante 3715-03 just might be the watch you want.